Hey everybody, it's Chuck Barone here on Thursday, April the 11th, 2024. Another crazy ass day, guys. Can you believe what is going on in this world today? It's just freaking bananas. But I gotta say, a beautiful day here in Vegas, 85 degrees today, beautiful blue skies, sunny. Hard to be mad at the world, even though all this crazy we're going to talk about today will probably have me mad again by the end of the show. Anyway, before I get rumbling, let me take a half a minute and, of course, welcome everybody to the show. And as always, thank you guys for your support. You guys showing up here, watching the videos, hitting me up in the comments, going back and forth. It's been a lot of fun. We appreciate you guys. All right, so let's talk about markets today and what the heck. We know today was going to be some data. We got the CPI report yesterday, which jolted the markets. Today was PPI day. So yesterday we get retail. Today we get wholesale. Numbers come in pretty mild, actually. Of course, the market trying to spin it into this is wonderful news. Oh my God, it's fantastic. So the markets rallied up a little bit today. But you can see by the look of these markets, and we'll go over this in a second here, I'm not sure how much they really thought of this PPI number. Anyway, let's talk about markets. So the stock market today was kind of a weird day. You had the Dow Jones actually falls 2 points. So the Dow sitting at 38,459. At the same time, the NASDAQ goes up 271 points. Now, this is partially earnings driven. Now, the NASDAQ sitting at 16,442, which I believe is a new record for the NASDAQ composite. The S&P rallies up 38 points today. They're sitting at 5,199. So the narrower Dow Jones, not much. The broader market today had a good day. I guess the PPI numbers, traders wanting to believe this magic rate cut, soft landing, wonderful scenario is going to happen. Okay, guys, so the market rallies up a little bit today, but the bond market tells the tale. We saw yesterday how much rates spiked up. The 2-year spiked up like 22 basis points, right? So today the bond market has kind of a weird mixed day, right? So the 10-year actually sells off just a little bit. So it's up 1 basis point. So the 10-year is sitting at 4.58%. The 2-year actually had a little buying today. So it actually comes down 1 basis point, sitting at 4.96. Now, I've been talking to you guys about, the 2-year getting over 5, what that means for the market. Hard to get below 5 once it gets above. Still treacherously close to that number. But after the big sell-off yesterday, and the great numbers on PPI, supposedly, and the stock market reacting the way it did, you would think the bond market would have rallied up a little bit. Big nothing burger there, right? So that's a very strange deal. Here's another strange deal. The dollar up today, up 10 basis points, now sitting at 105.28 on the index. You would think if rate cuts were coming back, the dollar would have came down a little bit. Didn't happen. Even weirder, with the stronger dollar, look what happens with gold and silver today. Gold jumps $41.80. Another great day for gold. $2,376.10 for an ounce of gold. Astounding numbers. Silver up 41 cents today. Now sitting at $28.32. I think silver's had like a 20% gain in a week? We were just talking about how it was having difficulty getting, it was approaching 25, then it was back down 23s, now 28 and change. Wow. So gold and silver continue to outperform stocks and every other investment right now. I'm telling you guys, this party is not over. Silver will get going. I think that's going to be the hot one. Gold's getting a little pricey for the average guy now, although you can't tell by what we were talking about on the show yesterday with Costco selling hundreds of millions of dollars of gold and silver every month out of their stores. Costco. So that just tells you, though, the regular guy, the schmuckatellis, the working man like us, the people that live at Costco, starting to get interested in precious metals. That's only going to be good for precious metal prices going forward. Oil today comes down a little bit. Yay, down 65 cents a barrel. Now sitting at $85.56 for a barrel of West Texas Intermediate. Price is still way too high. And the only reason it's too high and not coming down like I've been saying it's going to is because of this Middle East political crap. You got, now I've read it, I've talked about it on the show yesterday, read it in the news today. Hey guys, Iran drone attack, missile attack on Israeli assets, imminent. U.S. intelligence pointing it out, and they were sure nailed the last one. So it's going to be interesting to see if that actually happens, what the next step of that's going to be. It's scary, but going to be fascinating stuff. Bitcoin today rolls up another $803, now sitting at 70,697. A lot of debate about this halving coming up on Bitcoin. Will it be good for the price or bad for the price? I was talking with Corey Costas yesterday. He's a crypto expert. He was saying that he believes the halving is going to be good for crypto, going to be good for Bitcoin. And he pointed out that, as I did on the show before, every time they've had one of these halvings, and they've had several, this is not the first one, the price at the end of the year was higher than the price when they did the halving. So if that holds through, I guess it's around April 18th, the halving is going to happen. If that happens, guess what? That means at the end of the year, Bitcoin will still be selling above $70,000. Amazing. All right, so let's talk about news you need today. We saw the Fed parade of Fed yo-yos out there today, talking down rate increases, pulling back expectations for rate increases. I think everybody's on board with your host here. I've been telling you guys that this was a mirage, that it was going to be very difficult for them to cut rates. I explained why, the timing of it all, and now these inflation numbers pretty much knocking out any chance of a cut the first half of the year. The election in the second half of the year really complicates things for the Fed. If Powell tries to cut rates during an election, Trump's team, the red team, is going to say he's doing it for the benefit of Biden. If he doesn't cut rates and the economy goes south, the blue team's going to be screaming bloody murder. He's in a tough pickle there. And I just don't believe. Now, I could be wrong here. It's just hard for me to believe that he'll have the stones to cut rates in the heat of a presidential election. Anyway, Bank of America coming out today. Their analysts say one cut this year in December, which is what I've been preaching to you guys for months. Anyway, PPI day today. We knew this data was coming. It was going to be what moved markets today and did. Interesting stuff on this. So the top line comes in at 2.1% year over year. Sounds great, right? Economists saw that number coming at 2.2. Now, the interesting thing is, year over year, it came in up 0.2, which is right around where the Fed wants it. They'd like it lower than that. Looks much better than last month's 0.6% jump on PPI. Now, we'll see. The core PPI comes in at 2.4%. Economists saw 2.5, so they got a little bit better numbers than they were expecting. Certainly not the best numbers they could have hoped for. Now, here's the interesting thing, right? So we saw the CPI number still way up here. See the PPI number down here. It's kind of weird because usually the PPI is going to give you an idea of what's going to happen with retail prices going forward. If wholesale prices are not going up as fast, typically retail prices don't either. But we have a situation here where we have super massively greedy corporations, and we'll see if they're going to pass any of that along, or they're going to continue to just raise prices like they have. Quite a divergence, though. So it'll be interesting to see if, any kind of, if CPI drops down or how they're going to deal with it. I would bet corporations have a chance to be greedy. They usually don't pass that opportunity up. So we'll see. Jobless claims is also the big data we were looking for today. We knew that was coming. Came in today 211,000. That's down 11,000 from last week. They were expecting 217,000. So still a pretty strong number for jobs. Jobs still being plentiful. This is kind of the counterbalance today to the, this PPI number. Everybody in the markets wants these rate cuts. They believe it's going to be good for the markets. I'm not so sure about that. I would rather have a strong economy and companies earning money than hoping the market's going to go up just because you cut rates and people are going to be able to borrow money cheaper, right? So jobless claims putting a little more pressure on the Fed. Again, it's just another sign they're handcuffed. They can't cut rates the way they wanted to. This was interesting today. The Fed announcing Losses last year for 2023 of $114 billion. So the Fed taking a massive loss last year. Ordinarily, they have a pretty healthy profit that they pass along to the U.S. Treasury. This year, they're not going to be passing any. Last year, $58 billion to the Treasury. This is the largest ever loss they've ever had in a year. The reason they had this loss, they're saying, they had to pay $60 billion more in interest on the reserves they're holding for all these banks. You know, they've been pumping up their reserves, right? So they had to pay $60 billion more in interest on those reserves. That hurts. And they had a net income loss. Let me see here. Well, they suffered huge losses on repurchase agreements, right? Which just means their traders are freaking dumbasses and don't know what they're doing. They lost $58 billion on losses on repurchase deals. So the Fed going backwards, I don't know how much that kind of loss, you know, when you can create money out of thin air, I don't know if that really means anything, but it's just gives you an idea of the kind of damage that these rates are doing everywhere across the economy. It's nuts, man. Even the Fed getting pummeled by high interest rates. It's crazy. A couple quick hitters today. The IMF comes out today. They're such negative, wonderful people, aren't they? And they said, get ready, guys. We're going to have a decade of slow growth. They're talking about China, their deflation. They're talking about, you know, Europe not really doing very well. Actually, signs of recession in some of the major economies in Europe. You know, you got all kind of political, geopolitical tensions, slow growth, less than 3% growth worldwide. They're predicting over the next decade, which not great news, right? Larry Summers today, I was watching him for a few minutes. He was on the Bloomberg, and he was saying, what's interesting, you know, I mean, Summers good and bad with him, but he is a pretty bright guy. There's no denying that. And he was saying CPI numbers and the way this Fed fight against inflation is stalling out, the next move the Fed makes could be to raise rates, not cut them. Holy crap. Could you imagine the way the market would react to that, guys? Just the idea that rates was going to take longer to get cuts. The market had a giant tantrum yesterday. Imagine if they actually had the stones to raise rates. Holy crap, it would be amazing. So Summers out there beating the war drums. This one's bad for everybody. I was reading an article today that said, you know, we all know what's happening with homeowners insurance across the country. If you can get homeowners insurance, the prices are just friggin' astounding. Policies that used to be $600 a year are now $2,500 a year. It's bananas, forcing people's mortgage payments up because your taxes and your homeowners insurance, which are both going up like crazy, are part of your mortgage payment. So you got high interest rates, high prices, big number for a mortgage, add on high taxes, add on high friggin' insurance rates and everything else, just further moving people further away from being able to buy a house. Car insurance now following suit, blaming it on expensive repairs, blaming it on the cost of parts going up, supply chains being disrupted, blippity beep bullshit, okay? Car insurance rates up 22% over the past 12 months. That's out of line, man. You can't be raising rate. You know, you're going to have a 22% increase when the rate of inflation is 3.5%. Really? Greedflation knows no ends, guys. Now, car insurance is obviously, I guess these electric cars, if you bang into a Tesla, they're really, really, really expensive to repair them, I guess. So that's part of the problem. More and more of these super fancy, expensive cars on the road. And hell, let's face it, guys, everything's expensive on the cars now, right? Car payments averaging over $700 a month. You got to have an expensive car to have a payment like that, right? Anyway, car insurance going the way of homeowners is just going to be outrageous, where they're going to force people to choose. Can I pay this or not? And you got to have a car in this country. You see this one, guys? Vietnam. There was this billionaire in Vietnam. She a big real estate billionaire worth $12 billion. Got involved in this she's a real estate lady, got involved in this real estate thing. They accused her of all kind of crimes, fraud, embezzling, big losses for everybody in this big real estate deal. They tried her and sentenced her to death. They're going to put this woman to death for financial crimes. Wow, Sam Bankman fraud. I wonder how you're feeling right now. You're appealing your jail sentence. Hey, at least you get to keep your head, buddy, right? So crackdown in Vietnam. Be careful, Americans. You know, they're moving a lot of their manufacturing to Vietnam. It's one of those places to do offshoring where labor is super cheap. Be careful, Americans. Vietnam doesn't mess around with graft too much, and if you get screwed, they don't play. You're not going to get a little slap on the wrist like you do here, or a jail sentence if they're going to make a poster boy out of you. Over there, they kill you. Crazy. And to finish today, just a quick one. I got to just say, what the fuck, China? What are you guys doing over there, China? They seem to be out of their freaking minds, guys. You see this stuff? Fitch, one of the three major ratings companies, just cut China's rating to negative. They're saying stay away from China. Don't be investing there. Don't be playing around in China. Lowering their rating to negative. Going to be tough for them to be selling bonds unless their own people are going to buy them. I seriously doubt that, right? That's overseas stuff typically. So China having some big trouble there. They got deflation deflation's really bad, guys. I know we want some of that, especially in the supermarket at the gas pump. When your economy is deflating, and this is all brought out by China and their crazy real estate scheme, they wanted to try to build their way out of a real estate collapse, and all they did was build it 5 times bigger than it's needed to be. So now they're going to pay the price for this giant real estate collapse. What else? No other notes here. Slow growth. They're having difficulty. They had these high-flying GDP numbers. Now their GDP is looking more like ours. And of course, the catastrophe in commercial and residential real estate. Ghost cities. You see these entire cities of high-rises built, not a person living there, because they wanted to keep building to prop up prices. Now it's time to pay the piper, guys. It's going to be bad news. And did you see this one? The Chinese concrete company that lost 99% of its stock value in friggin' one day, mostly in the last 15 minutes of the day. 80 million shares sell in the last 15 minutes a day. The stock tanks from almost 100% of its value. Now, this is the country a lot of people think is going to take over from the dollar. Okay, guys, sure. And listen to this one. China, big enemy to cryptos, big enemy to Bitcoin, is going to allow a Bitcoin ETF on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange. Well, along with these American ETFs and Bitcoin, they said it could happen as soon as this month. If that happens, more demand for Bitcoin. Expect a pretty big price bump for Bitcoin if that deal goes through. Anyway, guys, I'm already rambling over. That's it for the day. I love you. I appreciate every one of you guys here. I wish I could not have to look away from the computer to read these guys' comments here. But it's good to see a lot of my regulars. Hey, Donna, Attila, my man, I appreciate it. It's good to see all of you guys back again. I can't tell you how much I appreciate your support, how much fun I've been having in the comments. One of the viewers left a great comment. He said, the only thing higher for longer is prices. That one made me laugh out loud. Anyway, guys, that's it for the day. Please hit the like button. It changes the algorithms around, gets our video out in front of a few more people. We'll be back tomorrow to wrap up this crazy-ass week. We get University of Michigan, and it's a little bit more tomorrow. Big bank earnings tomorrow. JP Morgan, Chase, all the biggies tomorrow. We'll be here to bring you the news you need. I know I'm talking way too fast. Love you guys. See you tomorrow.